from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me, Nader Abdelrazik. Nader, really, I'm appreciating the time. You are a busy CEO. Nader is the CEO of MoneyHash, and I know how busy it can, but you took the time to be with me today. So thank you very much. As usual, this is what I tell my guests, I like them to tell us a little bit about, their background, their journey, and what you are currently up to. So the floor is yours.
Amazing. No, thanks a lot to have me. It's usually really exciting to take a break from work and kind of talk about it in the same time. So it's a semi-break, I would say. No, but in general, really appreciate your work and excited to participate. I'm Nader Abdelrazik. I'm one of the co-founders of MoneyHash. We're a payment orchestration operation infrastructure. And what that means is we help companies control their payment infrastructure so that it's programmably and intelligently decide which transaction handled how with the consumer and in the kitchen or in the back end of the business, how this works with the different payment providers or the different partners to boost success rate, to address fraud, to address loyalty, and multiple other things. It's a comprehensive operating system for payment. Prior to MoneyHash, my background is equally split between academia, where I spend most of my career doing some studies and research and teaching, and this led me to switch to the business world. So I worked with a couple of startups in the region and globally before starting MoneyHash with my dear friend Mustafa, who's our CTO. And we're currently a seed stage company. We serve some of the large enterprises in the region, fixing their payments and helping them run a comprehensive payment strategy from a technical perspective. And very excited to be with you today.
Thank you very much, Nader. I get excited myself every time I have a founder from our region. I'm a big believer in the talent. I'm a big believer in the market. So this is why myself also I get excited when I have someone like yourself, Nader. Now, usually maybe it's a traditional question, but I like to ask this every time to founders. Everything comes from a pain point that clients live with sometimes. Even they don't figure out that it's a pain until someone tells them, hey, there's a better way of doing that. So I would love to hear from you, Nader, the story of how, you and Mustafa, your co-founder, came up with the idea of MoneyHash. So what were the challenges you spotted? And, you decide, okay, this is something we should be into to solve this problem.
No, 100%. I think it's a mix between our excitement to solve this problem and our excitement to build a company that solves the problem. So I think I can split why we started that into three main reasons. The first one is co-founder synergy. So me and Mustafa worked together in a payment company in Egypt called XPay. And prior to starting MoneyHash, me and him were in between jobs. But really our work together in XPay was extremely enjoyable from collaboration point of view and our impact of working together and all of that. So there was a big incentive of us trying to figure out working together again, really. Because after all, like in the startup journey, if you really like the people you're working with, you can go way longer than others, right? So that was very important piece for us. And the second piece as well, we felt the region doesn't have enough technically driven companies. Like there is a lot of companies that are doing really well from an operational perspective and has decent tech, but tech household software companies are not very few companies that exist in the region and give opportunity to talents like myself and others to work on a quality piece of software. Like cars exist, but like there's someone somewhere is dreaming of building a better car that's coming out of their own economy. So this is kind of was our dream. Can we build a software company, a high quality software, infrastructure software, complicated, exciting, solves a big problem from the region? These were two intangible incentives combined with the problem incentive, which is that we know COVID accelerated the digital payment space almost at 100x speed. That made the ecosystem overlook the significant problems in the payment ecosystem, which is it's highly fragmented. The technical of it is immature, has a lot of refinement. The emerging market is going through very difficult catch up with alternative payment methods versus global cards versus local cards. What is the user preferences? What about my technical capacity? What about my product roadmap? It's a plumbing issue. And when you have a plumbing problem, you call a plumber. And we decided to be the best plumbers in payments in the region. And that was the problem we wanted to solve. We wanted to get companies a reliable piece of tech that intelligently manage a very, very important piece of their infrastructure, which is the payments, receiving the money from their customers. And that's what we're working on.
Amazing. I love these stories, and maybe not related to the technology, but you mentioned something also people underestimate sometimes, which is, the synergy with the co-founder or co-founders. This is very, very important. And the other thing is, the passion to build a true software house. Now, I want to open a parenthesis, and this is something all my guests, they know about me. Sometimes I come up with questions I didn't prepare, but this has attracted me in a deep way, I would say. Why do you think, Nader, although we have a lot of startups, whether in fintech or other B2B SaaS and even B2C space, so do you think like the majority were trying just to take a proven business model, just like change it a little bit, localize it and push it, so we don't care about the technicalities? Or is it because we know that there is talent here in our region? Why do you think there is this lack in the ecosystem for true software house, to your point?
I think it's a lot of micro forces that get combined together. I don't think there is a major reason for it. I think definitely the region lacked a lot of gross stage fundings that can carry big technical companies through the hard times, and this will make a lot of companies kind of not survive the tides of building the company. I think also even when we have a lot of talented tech in the region doesn't have a lot of success cases on building software that either go internationally or build the big market for it in the region. This has started already with success cases like Uniphonic, with success cases like Instabug that we're building on top of these success cases of like household softwares that started to emerge from the region, or doing well or doing things at scale. But the region doesn't have enough examples, so things were a bit slow. I think things are now picking up on that. I think also there's a lot of positive factors coming into place, like diaspora talent, for example. So diaspora talent, in which like any very talented people that left the region to work outside of the region for a while for big households names like Google, Amazon, or whatever, and after 5-10 years they see an excitement to come back to the region, while the region has a lot of injection of fund right now, and contribute and become to lead their own startups or become significant levers to existing startups. That also is creating a wave of new generation. So I would say MoneyHash is built on top of these early tries. That while it looked like it's not successful, it was actually creating a fantastic fabric for us And we're now this generation of like just creating the new dent of like, is it now possible to get larger on that? And instead of 2-3 household names, can we get 50, 100 if we can?
Hopefully we will. Hopefully. So I like, I'm very customer centric person. Like I work in tech, I work in consultancy. So for me, like the customer journey, Nader, when they, decide to go with the MoneyHash. So like how it goes. So today, from what I understood from you, and of course, like when I checked the website, so today maybe I'm a retailer, I might be an e-commerce owner, whatever. So I have like these different payment gateways, and I have to accept MasterCard, Visa, Stripe payments, PayPal, and I have custom. So when I want to, and of course, for each one, there's a separate API and so on. So now if I decide to choose, your platform, MoneyHash, what's my journey? Like how it would take me from, where I am today to what you are promising?
No, 100%, 100%. The beauty of any operating system or any comprehensive infrastructure is it needs to take care of the customer across the entire journey. So we help our businesses from where they are in the supply chain, of course, but let's assume they are going through all the problems. They are still choosing their payment partners. They're still building their integration. They're still having the checkout experience. They're still figuring out the programmability of the transactions. They're still figuring out the reporting and the refunds. And our software is built to handle all of this. So we have over 300 APIs pre-integrated that cover the entirety of Middle East and Africa. So we have all the way from card integrations in Saudi and South Africa, and Nigeria and Morocco, to mobile money, to crypto, to buy now, pay later integrations, all pre-integrated. On the one hand, you can sign up through us to these wonderful partners, and then through a single API integration, you access all of these integrations. And as our team always call it, we turn it from an integration to a configuration. So it's no longer an integration problem. You just like configure another partner in your stack, but you do just a single integration on our side. So we help the customer in the first journey, which is finding the partner, connecting with the partner, integrating with the partner, and building this first API integration. But within this API integration, what people don't realize is the API integration itself has commitments in it on how the payment journey will look like for your user. So if you're using the wrong API, the experience for the user will be wrong. And you kind of like how to patch it. Think about it as like it's a water company. So this is the payment gateway. So if you're connecting with the water company directly, and this connection is done wrong, you will not receive water correctly in your house, right? So there should be a reliable pipe that creates this facilitation of value in that case. So our API embedded in it a lot of functionalities that help our customers build a decent payment experience, build a very, very sophisticated payment experience, checkout experience that customizes itself based on customer segments, based on the markets, has a smart and dynamic way to show the brand and to show the payment methods, and interact these payment methods to our payment orchestration engine, which is the engine that you program or set up ways to decide where the transaction will go, what happens, should I do a fraud check, not fraud check, should I do CDS, should I skip CDS, should it be Stripe or checkout or Adyen, and what happens when the payment fail, what happens when the payment succeeds, when the payment failed, is this payment is recoverable, and if it's recoverable, what to do next, and what the customer should see. We now empower the customer, the merchant that works with us, to control every single small refinement from the journey of them building all the way towards the customer seeing, and even the operations after that, like the refund and the reporting and all of that. So it is quite comprehensive from our point of view.
Fantastic. And I also, because I'm a big fan of automation, so I've seen also you have put a lot of automations, workflow optimization also for this journey, which is I talk a lot about, how we can do this in shorter time, how we can do this in a more optimized way, like less friction. And I've seen like you've done fantastic job, Nader, on this. Now, one
Appreciate it.
thing also I get to know about, like, which is I think it's a great milestone, which is the partnership with Visa, the very famous card company. So, what this milestone means to MoneyHash, and like how this will affect the way you do business.
I think the milestone means to us and to the ecosystem in general that the payment ecosystem is graduating. It's kind of like going from the bachelor level to the master's level. And what I mean by that is usually the merchant consumes their entire understanding of payment from their payment providers and from payment partners. And the schemes are kind of an ecosystem player in the back end. So Visa, MasterCard, and even the local schemes like Visa in Egypt or MENA in Saudi, they facilitate the playing between the issuer banks and the acquirer bank and the merchant and the customer and all of these different middle players that add value in different ways. So when we come to the market and we start adding another layer of value of consolidation and automation and intelligence, we got to also gain the trust of the ecosystems that we can deliver to the deepest level of complication of cases, especially when you deal with large enterprise. So by partnering with Visa and MasterCard, you now get an access to an open ecosystem of information, of capabilities that the merchants usually didn't know they exist, or they know they exist through an abstraction layer, which is the payment gateway or the payment service. And they now can pick and choose what they want to refine, what they want to do, and how they want to scale to that level of granularity, if that makes sense. And it's also a testament to the team because we are one of the very first orchestrators, even globally, to partner with the card scheme. So that's one of the things we're proud of, that like coming from our region and the emerging market, that we are not catching up with an industry. We're actually in the front of it. Is a good thing to be proud of.
Of course, like I think should be, everyone in the emerging markets should be proud of such accomplishment. And again, congratulations, Nader, on this.
Appreciate
Now,
it.
we've been speaking about emerging market and fintech. So, how have you seen the fintech in general landscape in Africa and the Middle East, in MENA region, have evolved in the past decade? Like you mentioned, like there's a break point, of course, which was the COVID. But how have you seen this evolution? And and this is a question that maybe I'm merging two questions together, but I think they are related. Some people, they say, we have a surge in the fintech. Do we really need all these fintech, startups? And does really the emerging market need all these, solutions? Or do you see maybe in the future there will be some consolidation in that space?
I will go 100% against what's commonly being said in that file, and I will think we're even not 1% there. And there is way more fintechs that need to emerge than that. Listen, the fintech infrastructure globally is really less than 1% built. It's really not much is being built there. There's so much to build and so much to test and so much to experiment, and it can be presented to the consumer in so many flavors. And the venture game has a lot to do with building a competitive market, and that's through the competition and through the work between these different players with the different flavors. You get winners and losers and laggards and followers, like any other ecosystem. So do we need that many robo-advisory companies? Yes, we need as many robo-advisory, as many challenger banks, as many insurtech, as many remittances, as many peer-to-peer, as many B2B payments, as many billing payments. But as long as they all can figure out their differentiation and their approach to the market, we got to embrace that some of them will fail for the good of the entire ecosystem from a success point of view. And to improve the quality of others, you got to build competitive space. And that's what we tell to our investors as well. Like we are the first payment orchestrator in the region, and one of the leading ones, given our integration network and our number of features we have and our hyper localization. But competition is coming, and there will be multiple orchestrators and multiple payment companies, and we got to be very excited about that, because that will push us and make us better, and make us learn, and the customer will be winning in the end.
Absolutely. So competition is always welcome to push for the benefits of the customer. So this is 100%. Now, shifting a little bit gears here, Nader, I gotta talk about the investment. I prefer usually to keep it to the end, but for you, like on the personal journey. So you mentioned like you started in academia and then you worked in consultancy. So this shift to the complete startup world, like how much the background in economics, your background also in engineering, and how this all helped you to shape the way to be a founder for a company like now MoneyHash is taking more and more steps toward becoming a leader in the space that it's in. And that, to your point, like probably others will follow. But I mean, this shift, because some of the people, they are comfortable in their comfort zone, like they said, okay, I like to do this. So how was this transition for you, Nader?
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because given that I did a lot in academia, I did a lot of shopping, because I actually learned a lot of different fields, right? So I switched from the engineering to management, and then from management to economics and political science as well. And when you blend all of these together, it really lends itself well to strategy. So I work really well, or my comfort zone is building strategy, building frameworks, building processes. And it's a double-edged sword, because you have kind of an ensemble of skills that I can use together to bring something different, and sometimes take for granted and don't realize how this is powerful for myself and for the company. And sometimes it can also slow me down, because I have too much in my head about everything, or I can over process a little bit. So you got to balance yourself. And this is even for all founders. Hopefully everyone do that. You got to balance yourself with the team that you have, that they kind of balance you in the degree of processing, balance you in the speed, in the execution, in the backgrounds, so that you can bring a full picture, horizontally and vertically, in terms of like topics, in terms of between strategy and implementation, and what's in between. But I gotta say that the startup ecosystem doesn't have enough from the skill set of coming from like an economics or an engineering economics blend. So that's helpful in some way, because we're working in the payment ecosystem and we're building a company that is pan-regional. So looking at the macro and being able to move seamlessly between the macro and the micro is it's very key piece to how we build the company in the beginning. So we kind of embrace this as a DNA of the company, that our skill set is complicated and diverse. So we're going to build a complicated and diverse product, because we can, and we should. So that's part of our mandate.
To your last point, Nader, because I think also, there is a lot of talks that happens mainly on LinkedIn. There are some people who are active thought leaders about the startup ecosystem in MENA. One time, I am one of the big believer, and I believe MENA region, all of the MENA region. I'm not saying only like UAE or only Saudi or only one specific country. I say like Cairo can be a global hub. Dubai is a global hub, it is on the way of being a global hub. Every single capital in the whole emerging market. But I was wondering, because this is what you mentioned about the academia and how you took this. One of the things that I wanted to study, what made, for example, Silicon Valley the Silicon Valley. Of course, there are a lot of things. Capital was there, this and that, but it was, the academia which actually were behind, all this. If we think about, a company like Google, just to mention one. So, Sergey and Larry, they were like PhD students, and they were working on their projects. And of course, Stanford, from your experience, do you think like the higher education is, of course, there are a lot of initiatives. I don't want to, underestimate, but do you think, we should do all more in this space? What is missing, Nader, for us to really take this to really the next stage?
I think, and this is one of my incentives of getting out of the higher education system, which I really like. I really enjoyed being in it. So I love teaching. I love research. There was a reason why I got into academia in the first place. But I think the global world is going through something called like a social acceleration, in which like technology is moving much faster from a base perspective, that everyone is behind. Academia is behind, the economy is behind, the politicians are behind, right? If you're going to watch the Congress question a technical CEO in the US, you will realize that there's like a big gap between where's the politics and where's the economics and where's the old systems we build are, and where's the technology and where's the economy is actually heading in that space. So I kind of believe that there's so many academic institutions are far behind. Some of them has big brands and big names that they can collaborate better with tech and engage better with tech. And the rest are all in the direction of like talent race and all of that. I'm really hoping to see more initiatives from academia of starting building academia differently, like starting building different universities, starting building more entrepreneurial universities, more research-driven universities, more business incubating universities. And some universities around the world call themselves that name, but eventually they still fall into the old structure of academia and the whole hierarchy of academia, which is in of itself is the ones that I think need to be challenged. But I can say the same exact things on politics, on economics, on how we treat the entire thinking of the society when it comes to how we process tech, right? Like we're all like now about to be customers of AI, or we are already customers of AI before even the societies discuss if they want to be customers of AI, right? This is the speed we're moving at, right? Like the speed in which the technology presents things and the entire society catch up on the conversation after adoption. That's the level of how late we are, right? So there is a degree of balance to figure out, some pioneers here and there, but the majority is still far behind, in my opinion.
Hopefully things will change, because to your point, if we don't do something now, I don't know when we're gonna do it, because things are moving very, very, very fast, and the gap, it's unfortunately good enough. I'm sometimes feel lucky, at least here, in the Gulf region and in the whole MENA region, there are these initiatives. Let's adopt the technology. Let everyone knows what we are doing. So this is really, really great. Now, one other thing that always comes, in the discussions about the startup ecosystem, and again, I have the debate with some of the thought leaders, like online and offline. The impression is what we do as a startup founders and ecosystem, we are trying to take business models from successful companies in the US or in Europe, and we start these ideas here on the hope that we are being in the future acquired by a bigger player. Now, and we are blamed, and when I say we, I think sometimes we self-blame ourselves. You know what? I will never become a global company. I'm just gonna, grow the business. I'm covering, I'm in my comfort zone again, covering MENA region, emerging market. Hopefully someone from the US, from Canada, from Europe will come and acquire me. And they are saying that we don't have enough founders who are thinking on a global level to say, no, actually, I want to go out and push my product in the US, in Europe, in Asia, and maybe I gonna start to do acquisitions in their local market. Why do you think this is not happening, Nader? I'm a big believer that it will happen at some stage, not sure when, but what we need to do to reach that stage?
I mean, first, there is a very important piece to highlight, which is like any economy, any ecosystem has stages of development. And if this is the stage of development we're in, that's fine. Like we should just embrace it and be okay with it, because it's one form of If it's one form of innovation, no judgment against it. And let's say it is dominant, but it's not nothing against it in general. It's a good way to build. If you're going to hyper-localize a model that is global or hyper-distribute it, so you're going to hyper-localize the product or hyper-distribute it or figure out something that is local, but it's still the same model or something, there is no judgment on that. It's in fact, it's a very hard task, extremely hard task to do that in general. And to get acquired by an international company, I mean, even if that's what everyone is trying to do, I mean, it's not as successful. We don't have enough acquisitions in the region yet. Can a lot of companies become global from the region? I think they can. Are they not becoming that because lack of founders thinking that? No, I think most founders, if not all, hoping for that. And there is bumps along the road, inner bumps and external bumps. Founders might not have the skill set to do it. Their teams might not have the skill set to do it. They might not get the right support. So there is a lot of barriers to break, and I think each company breaks some on behalf of the rest. In that case, given that I'm Egyptian, we have a lot of growth stage Egyptian companies that what they achieved in the last 5 years, going through like multiple devaluations and political turbulence in the country, for them to be in the level they are, should be a case study globally for the level they achieved. When we talk about companies like Breadfast or Money Fellows or Nawi or Maxab, in the middle of everything they have been through, extremely heavily operational companies coming from the Egyptian economy, and they are what they are. These are fantastic level founders. And there is a lot of other founders that build the ecosystem for us, whether it's the founders of RiseUp or the founders of Eventus or like the founders of POS Rocket or Dinari, and like which like the ones that help us see acquisitions or help us see the ecosystem or all of that. So is this changing? It is changing. Is the ecosystem thriving? It is thriving. But we still need as many acquisitions as possible in the region. We need small acquisitions, big acquisitions. We need some open failures. We don't have enough open failures, in which people talk about like, actually, we screwed this up. This is not working. And we got to share the story because we now have this like collective toxicity that we can't openly say this company failed and why it failed and how and what we're doing next and all of that. And it will be very, very, very exciting to see in the region at some point. And we need all of that, whether it's the acquisitions piece or the rest.
100%. And again, like I'm not against like a local company being acquired, but I would love to see the opposite happening. And to your point, you mentioned a couple of startup names, and personally, especially since last year when I started to immerse myself more into the ecosystem, the amount of talent, the amount of the thing that the people are building in the tough situations that you just mentioned, whether it's like economical situations, sometimes instabilities and so on, or even in the more like comfortable economies like in the UAE and Saudi and so on. We have major talents, and this talent should not go, just like this to the sea, as we say in Arabic. You mentioned about the support. Like, is it, I like to talk it openly. Is it because we don't have enough investors in the region? Is it because the investors, they need just something that comes on the, as we say, on a plate of gold to them, and they just something cooked, 100% guaranteed, and then okay, we're gonna invest. Is this what we are missing, Nader, here?
I think there isn't enough growth stage funds in the region, and the early stage funds in the region are quite aggressive in their expectation from early stage companies. That's fact. There is like, if you ask any other founder, I don't think they will see it any differently. Majority of them has to pitch traction that would be expected from a pre-series A company. And when they make it to the growth stage, they are picking from very few funds that has the appetite and go through a lot of diligence and things like that. Will this change? I think so. I think the region is attracting more funds externally, and more funds in the region are changing their DNA and getting more progressive about things and getting more founder friendly. That is exciting. But this is just like in its first 10% in full honesty.
Yeah, we still need a lot of time. Like, although, like, if maybe let me ask you, Nader, if I ask you about your, in your domain, the market size, how much is it? Like, how big is the TAM? Let's say.
I mean, you mean the TAM of my own?
Yeah. So for just as an example, because I'm gonna ask another question. So based on
I believe it's gigantic without saying an exact.
Yeah,
I believe
so it's in billions. It's in
billions,
billions, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And like the point I want to make, Nader, is, for example, if we take fintech, right, and if we take only the emerging market, which is mainly the Middle East and Africa, right, and I didn't talk about Latam, I didn't talk about like some of the emerging markets in Asia. It's a huge market. So growth, yes, there is growth. And what irritates me, and I'm very transparent on this podcast, like despite like we have all these numbers, the number one complaint from founders I spoke with recently is exactly what you mentioned. So everyone knows that these guys are solving real problem. Everyone knows that these guys, they have the talent. Everyone knows the market is big and is growing, yet they are being unfortunately asked these questions which sometimes no sense. So hopefully this will change very soon. And I believe, like, if people who are missing these opportunities, they're gonna come back and say, oh wow, like we missed that opportunity. Because I believe, we are on the verge of a big transformation when it comes to the startup ecosystem. And for me, I'm maybe doing a drop in a ocean in kind of pushing people. So hopefully these things will change. Now I want to come back to something related to you, Nader, which is, starting a business and being in the startup is not something easy. And one of the things that a CEO need to do is to, of course, put the vision and, build the culture and, take care of the business. For you, like, what are, I would say, maybe the methodologies, maybe the tools that you have equipped yourself with, so to make sure that, all the tasks that a CEO have to do go smoothly, especially in a tough market like ours?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think all founders are different. You kind of gotta double down on the things you're good at and fill the cracks on the things you're not good at. So I think like my own rubric wouldn't make sense for other rubrics, right? And there is some common wisdom that you take it, but you gotta kind of like synthesize it and reflect it on like. So if people are telling you like, oh, go hire people yourself, don't do like hiring campaigns. Well, if you're not good at hiring, then this is a bad advice, right? So like that's a part in which like the common wisdom has to reflect on your own vulnerabilities and what you feel comfortable with and what you feel you still need to learn and what you feel you should delegate and stuff. In my case, personally, I do believe, especially on trusting senior talent. I feel like that's a social contract. So I really did my best on us not actually recruiting anyone in a critical position that I didn't reach out to them myself and talk to them and get them on board without a recruiting campaign or anything. Like so many of the positions you will see in the C-level or managerial positions, that we went and hired them directly and found the talents we want ourselves without saying we're actually hiring. And a reason for that is, as I said, we take it quite religiously that this is a social contract. These are other co-founders that will join. There's a big journey, daunting journey, hard journey. So there is a marriage component to it that you gotta figure out. So this is one of the things that if you're a founder that is good in communicating your vision to other talent and reading other people and figuring out if they are a fit to work with you and you can establish a decent social contract with them, I would recommend for you to headhunt and approach your critical talent rather than waste your time on recruiting campaigns. So this is one of the things I set up from day one, and we kind of doubled down a lot on it. I think also one very decent advice that I received from some. So we have a lot of angel investors in our cap table that we consider them really, really helpful advisors and friends. Some of them are founders themselves. So one advice I received was to invest in middle management early, because a lot of time you're being pushed to think that all what you need is like junior mid-level kind of talent to execute, but all the leadership level is needed from you in the early stage. But in reality, you need to fill the cracks or your strategy weak spots, and also build an infrastructure that will grow with you. So this is one of the very critical pieces, like invest in middle management early, make sure you have leaders with you in the company to balance you, to help you grow, and to also scale the company on your behalf, which is fantastic. And then a third component that was really good for us is to avoid nickel and diming as much as you can. So founders, especially in the region, are really pushed to rethink every single penny, right? This campaign will cost $500 versus $1,000. So they can like spend a lot of time trying to optimize every single piece of cost, while what they don't understand, they are in a race and they gotta only optimize the things that are critical, the things that are huge, and try to not get into the nitty-gritty details of everything, and try to balance between being wise and burning and their capacity as well. So they gotta pay their talents well. You gotta use tools early, even if it looks expensive. It will pay off eventually.
That's fantastic. And, great advice also as well, I would say, for fellow entrepreneurs, who are thinking to go out and start building in our region, in the emerging market, which is a market that I believe it has a lot of, again, potential. I'm repeating this again and again. Nader, really, I enjoyed, the conversation with you today. If you want to say some final things, and also where people can get in touch and know more about you and about MoneyHash.
No, 100%. Listen, I think, and I'm hoping the audience, while we're talking, already opened moneyhash.io and kind of checked stuff. If you need, like, giving the technical crowd, if anyone needs an input in payments, even if MoneyHash is not the one to solve it for you, we're just happy to be helpful. We're just happy to discuss whatever you need and figure out. So reach out if you have any question about payments in general, even. And if you are a founder in the early stages, in the stages before me, and would like to reach out for any input, would love to help you, tell you how it went.
Great. Thank you very much, Nader. As I said, I really appreciate busy time for a founder like yourself.
Right.
And especially, and again, congratulations on all the achievement that you have done so far. And I'm sure, the future is bright for you and for the rest of the team at MoneyHash. For the audience, you can find the link. It's moneyhash.io, but you will find it in the show notes, or if you are watching this on YouTube, it's in the description. And as I say at the end of each episode, this is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. Please, if you like it, subscribe, share it with your friends and colleagues. I'm trying to do some impact here, and I'm trying to share as much as possible founder stories, tech leader stories, and so on. And if you are one of the loyal followers, thank you very much for sending me your comments and sending your encouragements. I really appreciate that. Keep them coming. And as I say, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.